Welcome to Creating a Character Controller in the Unity 5 Gameplay course by Pack Publishing. In this section, we will create a game world and add a player controller. We will examine the controller's anatomy and expand our exploration by modifying the controller's joints. We will also look at how the player controller's collider works. Let's get started with anatomy of a player controller. In this video, we're going to perform some initial steps so that we can create a player controller in a game environment. We will start with a blank game environment and then add a basic terrain object. Next, we will add a prefab player controller. Then we will edit the camera so that it follows the player controller. We will switch between scene and game views to test our work. In addition, we will explore the anatomy of the player controller. Okay, let's launch Unity 5. Here we have a brand new project. First thing we will do is select Game Object, 3D Object, Terrain. And the Unity 5 game engine creates a terrain for us, and we'll just accept the defaults. This is just for testing purposes, so no modifications are necessary. The next thing we want to do is add a player controller. We're going to select Assets, Import Package, and then Characters. See the package is being prepared, and then we're prompted with the components of the character asset package that we want to select. By default, everything's selected, and that's fine. As I scroll down, you can see third-person character, and a little beneath that you see prefabs, and there's a third-person controller prefab, and that's what we want. So I'm just going to click Import. I'll import the entire package, and when that's done, we'll have the ability to navigate to that prefab and drag it to our scene view. Okay, our characters package has been imported. Now we can click on Project View, Standard Assets, Characters, Third Person, change the size of the navigation bars here. So under Third Person Character, we select Prefabs and then see Third Person Controller. We're going to drag that right into our scene, and you can see a Third Person Controller in 3D right there in our window. Now, if I were to click play, you can see I'm using the arrow keys that the character moves. And if I hold it down, we'll run, but the camera doesn't move with the controller, so that's no good to us. So let's get back to scene view. And what we'll do is look at the hierarchy view. And we can see here in the scene view that there's already a camera there. And we want that camera to follow the character. The easiest way to do this is to subordinate the main camera to the third-person controller. So I'm just going to, in hierarchy view, click main camera and then drag it under third-person controller. And then I'm going to move it closer to the character so we have a better view. And now let's try this in play mode. And you see the placement is off. Let's try this one more time. And now you can see as the character moves, the camera's right along with us. So now we can examine, let's make some final modifications. This camera just make it a little bit easier. Try it one more time. And if we don't like what we see, if I rotate around and modify the camera any way we want. And now what we have is pretty good. Okay, so this purpose of this is just so that we can see our work. Now I'm going to press the space bar and you'll see that the character jumps. So there's some animations that come with this character controller. And you can see here in scene view, it's a pretty well defined character. In hierarchy view, we have third person controller selected. You can see that the character's name is Ethan Body, and his glasses are a separate object. And here you see skeleton. So if I drill down with each one of these triangles, you can see that Ethan's hips, that's the pivot point. And if we were to select the character and then look at its inspector view, we can see quite a few settings here that we will not go into now, but just know that this is where you will make edits. Now back in the hierarchy view, we can continue to drill down, and you can see that his skeletal structure is made up of many different components. Each component can be individually modified and scripted. For example, let's look at under his neck, you see head, jaw, left blink, left brow, very detailed. This was a 3D character that was created in an external 3D modeling program and then exported into a format that Unity was able to import. So let's just take an example. We have his left shoulder, left arm, left forearm. You see we can continue to navigate down, left hand, and then you can see each finger is a separate element. If we pick his left hand, you can see if we change the tool, we can actually modify that to it's a very big hand. And then in the game, it will be just like that. You see as I jump, he has a very large hand in the shadow as well. Move that camera a bit so you can see it a bit better. I'm going to rotate the camera so we can see the front of. Let's put it right there. That might be enough. And we'll try that one more time in game view. And it didn't work as well. But you can see that even that failed attempt there is an indication of the finesse that is necessary when dealing with any kind of 3D object, including cameras. And here we change the view. Try this again. And it might be sideways, but I think you get a good glimpse of his large hand there. So there you have it. This is the anatomy, if you will, of a third-person controller. And you can create these characters using external software such as 3D Studio Max, Maya, even Blender, or you can import them from what's available at the Unity Asset Store. And this particular one is part of a standard asset package that is available to you as you develop with Unity. Would not recommend using it in the game because the world has already seen this, but it's a good starting point for certainly learning how to use Unity and how to practice. Next up, working with joints.